Welcome to Mission to Inspire with Shola Ajibade, where inspiration, purpose, and abundance come alive. Together, we'll empower lasting change, helping you step boldly into your greatest potential. Hi everyone, welcome to Mission to Inspire. My name is Shola, as you know, and I'm joined today by a wonderful lady. Her name is Patti. Patti, how are you?
Doing well, thank you. Doing very well.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And Patti has joined us all the way from United States. I think you're in Maryland, isn't it?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, and I'm in the UK. So it is wonderful to connect with you. Patti, I'm not going to say too much about you, but I will rather want you to introduce yourself. I know you're an inspirational entrepreneur, you are a life coach, and you're a grief educator, and you're also an author. So I'll leave it at that and allow you to introduce yourself. Let us know you. Who are you? Where are you from? What do you?
Well, yeah, I'm an angel in a human cloak,
Wow.
and I knew that from the time I was in the womb. I remember being in the womb. I remember being expelled, if you will, and yeah, and most humans do. All humans do, but it's pre-verbal. So
Right.
I was born in the City of Angels at the Queen of Angels Hospital. And throughout my life, I knew this. I felt directly connected to the divine by a golden thread. And that golden thread kept me safe. But I did suffer a lifetime of abuse and mistreatment, and people tried to beat it out of me. You know, if you ever tell anybody that you're an angel, they'll think you're crazy. Well,
Yes.
let me tell you, we're all born angels. We come to this earth as divine spirits, if you will. So I know this. And then, you know, during our lifetimes, for whatever reasons, some people choose to go to the dark, some people choose wrong. But the most mission here on earth is to share Amber's legacy, my daughter's legacy. And that's why I'm here, to elevate others and to do my best as a human being. That's, you know.
Right. Thank you so much for joining us today. Wow. Well, I I'm a little bit, off guard when you said you're an angel, you came as an angel, you knew when you were in the womb. I've never met anyone that know when they were in the womb my lifetime. So that is really interesting, to be honest. Very interesting. Very.
Well, honestly, Shola, think about this. You know, I mean, you may not have met somebody that has known it from the beginning, but also am able to articulate it.
Mhm.
You know, think about this. When does memory start? When does sensation start? And we don't really know for sure, but I know my own beginning. And I remember opening my eyes inside the womb and feeling just, you know, it being in water, and it was so smooth and silky and, you know, just pure bliss. And you're connected to life. You don't have to struggle. You don't have to have a job to pay your bills.
Yeah.
You know, you're just connected to life.
Yeah.
And then you get squeezed. I mean, if you can imagine as an adult being squeezed for hours, that would be extremely painful. And then you're expelled into the world. And then, you know, there's bright lights, there's clanging metal sounds. Then they scratch you with like a towel that feels like 80 grit sandpaper.
Ooh, okay.
And then, are you ready for this?
Yes.
I was hit. Welcome to the world. And then they cut off my connection to life, the umbilical cord.
Yeah.
And it's my experience that we all, like I said, viscerally deep inside our being, we remember in sensation and feelings and emotions, not words yet.
Mm.
And then they cut that umbilical cord, and we spend the rest of our lives
Yeah.
trying to reconnect to life.
Wow. Wow.
Connection is everything.
Wow. I'm still wowed.
How do they say in England? Gobsmacked.
Yes, I know, I know. Got smacked. Yes, that's the right word for it. I'm got smacked. Oh my God. So living through your extraordinary experience with your daughter, Amber, who shared profound insight before she passed. Can you share some of our words and your experience with her transformed, which, transformed your understanding of life and death?
Well, Amber was my greatest teacher. I had this premonition that I would die before she was 6. And so I recorded and documented our life together so that she would know me when I died. In August of 79, I discovered a small lump behind her ear, and my first thought was, oh my God, cancer. And then I heard, it's not you who will die, it's Amber. So then I
Oh.
spent the next 8 months trying to convince 8 different doctors to biopsy it, but they wouldn't. And I ended up going to the newspapers, and the Associated Press picked up on the story, and it went around the world. I was asking, is there any other cancer therapies around the world that can save Amber's life? This was before PCs. And so I had to sneak out of the country to
Mhm.
get her immunotherapy because it wasn't yet in the US.
Mm.
Um, and it worked, but then she got tonsillitis and it just spiraled out of control. We came back to the US, and Bernie Siegel said, I'll treat her as my own. He assembled a team of doctors, but they couldn't save her. And, from the experience itself, Amber, the whole time, here the tumor is quite big at this point. It was about the size of an orange, and there was as much inside of her head, her skull, as outside. And every time I would say, Amber, how are you doing? She always said, good, good.
Mm.
That was such a huge lesson for me. And I just try to remember that when I'm in my depths of despair.
Right. Okay.
But we brought her home to die. They tried to save her, but they couldn't.
Oh.
And she knew she was dying. Most children, I'm an end of life doula, so I work a lot with people that are dying. And most children, I've never met a child that's afraid because they just came from the other side. So
Mm.
Amber knew she was dying. She chose the clothes that she wanted to go to heaven in. And while she was in St. Raphael's, I was standing in line and I heard turn around. I was in the gift shop. I was getting something while she was taking a test. And I heard turn around, and I turned around and I saw a big rack of golden keys. It's my most precious possession. It's the key to heaven.
Wow.
So she held on to this key to heaven. I heard, give it to Amber and let her know she could open the golden gates with it. So we brought her home to die. And the last month, especially, I recorded everything because she was saying, it was incredible, the things that she was saying. So I had an audio tape every time she was awake. I have a whole catalog of cassette tapes that I'm working on another book. And so midnight on my 27th birthday in 1980, Gary, my second husband, and Amber sang happy birthday to me, and then she went into a coma. During that month before she slipped into a coma, as I said, she said amazing things, but two stand out. The first one, she said, Mom, I know I'm here to help a lot of people, because it went around the world. So people all over the world were sending her, cards and letters and stuffed animals. And then the second thing she said, she revealed the secret to what happens when our body dies. She said, Mom, when I die, I'll still be Amber. I'll just be different.
Hmm.
And so when she slipped into a coma, we dressed her in the clothes she chose. As I'm talking to her, I actually have an audio recording of this that I transcribed for our book, Embrace the Angel.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm telling her how much I love her. You've got the best buns in town. Every single thing I wanted her to know. And tears started to come down. And I wiped the tears away. And then a whole lot of tears came down.
Right.
And I realized she wasn't afraid to die. She was afraid to leave me behind.
Mm.
So when I said the words, go now, I'll be okay, Amber. Be with God. Be with God, Amber.
Mm.
At that exact moment, she stopped breathing. And Shola, I physically felt her leave her body and pass through my body into the light.
Wow.
And it was like vibrating goosebumps times a million. Every cell of my body was vibrating.
Mm.
At that exact moment, all I could say was, thank you, God. Thank you. I was so full of gratitude. And it was the opposite of what I had written about in the journal that I kept throughout the experience. I mean, opposite. Because I was a single mom. I
Mm.
thought, oh my God, if Amber dies, I would die. Totally opposite. So this feeling of gratitude and grace stayed with me a long time.
Right. Mm.
And it was really, it was a miracle. And I'm glad that I have an audio recording because otherwise it would have slipped into history.
You would have. Yes.
But now for the last, gosh, 44 years at the end of the month, 44 years, I can't believe that I was gifted such a beautiful miracle. We don't go away. Amber never left. She's here right now.
Right. Wow. She never left.
No, she changed.
Right. But then I thought she went to heaven.
No, it's not, heaven's not a destination, really.
Right.
Yeah, it's not like you get on the tube and you see, oh, I think I'll go to heaven.
Yeah.
No, no. Heaven is here,
Right.
and so is hell.
Mm. Wow. Wow. What an experience. What an experience. Oh my God. Do you have any other children now then?
Oh, I do. I have a son,
Mhm.
Tobias.
Okay.
Tobias, Toby, we call him.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's good to have a child. I feel incredibly blessed, and I
Yeah.
have a daughter-in-law, Kimberly. So, and they're happily married, and it's just such a beautiful thing to have a child and watch them grow and get
Yeah.
married.
That's true. Wow. You're so lucky then. Very lucky you are. Oh my God. Not so many people would have that insight to document the life of a loved one like you do. I mean, you're very lucky to have had that insight to do that at that time. And now be able to translate it into a book for all of us now to read and gain wonderful experience from. Thank you so much for sharing. In your role as an end of life and grief educator, how do you guide others?
Wow, I love that work so much. I call it my angel work or my light work. I'm a light worker,
Right.
as you are a light worker, Shola. I know.
I'm a light worker.
You are a light worker.
Are we
Yes.
all light workers then?
We all start off as light workers.
Okay.
But again, some people choose the dark. And uh, yeah, I've lived with people that have chosen the dark. And that's where not only do I advocate for people that are, living, dying, and grieving,
Mhm.
now I'm really very active in helping people that have suffered with the narcissist in their life. And so I'm educating people. I've got a lot of different things going on with that particular area of abuse.
Oh,
So it's Yeah, it's a good thing to actually take my life lessons that I've learned. And with my company, Tobias and Company,
Mhm.
we started a love and learn collection. And
Right.
so all the different life lessons that I've learned, I've created graphics. I'm a graphic designer. So I created graphics.
Hmm.
I had a vision after my last narcissist, and I was suffering so much. I thought I was going to die. I had this vision that it took me 63 years to figure out what was going on. I'm a good person. I love with a full heart. Why was I being so mistreated and abused and manipulated?
Mm.
And so I finally figured out, I read Lundy Bancroft's Why Does He Do That? And that book brought all of the puzzle pieces together.
Ooh.
Finally, I could see what was going on.
Right.
So it took me 4 months to plan my escape. And and I had a vision, as I said,
Mm.
of I was standing in line behind somebody wearing a t-shirt that said red flags of a narcissist. And graphically, all of the behaviors, the patterns, the characteristics, what they say, it was like a glossary. So I designed that. And it was wonderful. Now I have, tote bags and backpacks and just basically trying to teach people about the red flags. And also, the next one was HSPs, which are highly sensitive people, based on Elaine Aron's book. I'm an HSP. And a lot of times, narcissists will target people like me. And so I'm trying to educate and inform people about who they are. Like 30% of the world's population are HSPs because it's a superpower. It's nothing to be ashamed of.
What is HSP then?
Highly sensitive people.
Highly
Highly,
sensitive.
highly sensitive people. It's based on Elaine Aron's book, but a lot of other research. So many people have been shamed and abused for being sensitive. I mean, I can walk into a room and just feel the energy in people.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so I do that. I, work with people that are domestic violence victims, and I also, on the grief side, I am one of David Kessler's moderators for his Tender Hearts group, which is really amazing. So many people from all over the world come.
Mm.
Um, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross was like my mentor, and she actually reviewed Embrace the Angel, and went to her workshop. Um, and she said to me in a note, she said, "Patti, the world needs to know about this." And so Elizabeth has prompted me to move forward. David wrote a couple of books with Elizabeth. And so being one of David's moderators, helping people who are grieving is amazing. I have a group of grief educators. We all got certified together and we all support each other. It's like been 3.5 years. So we work together to be supportive out in the world. I also facilitate for the bereaved parents of the USA. I'm a
Mm.
coach. I do a lot of pet loss right now. I help
Mm.
people through that.
Wow.
But yeah, I do workshops and presentations and, just help people to soothe their soul when their souls are aching.
Wow. Wow. You've been a voice for healing and transformation, right? Um, the subject of dirt, grief, and mistreatment are often difficult to talk about. So, how do you encourage people to, especially the young ones, to confront and heal from these experiences rather than shy away from it?
Yeah, I mean, I work with especially young people because, again, as I said, it took me 63 years. That's
Wow.
that's that's a couple lifetimes right there.
Mhm.
So I work with young people. Mary Kay Connerton, and she was Maryland's Teacher of the Year and our county's Teacher of the Year. So she's part of the wellness community for our school system. So I've done some workshops for young people there. And and I have so I started the Gray Rock Project.
Right.
It is so cool. So when I was going through the real serious abuse,
Hmm.
I, I used to cling. When I did my research, I realized gray rock is a coping strategy in the world of narcissism, where when you're being attacked or you're being like poked and prodded, because that's how they have power and control, you just stay like a gray rock. You don't react, and then their supply is cut off. So when, it's been like 7 years now, and I've been working and studying throughout this. And I realized, what is the one tool, the practical tool that I used that saved my life? And it was gray rocks. So I started the Gray Rock Project, and it's the coolest thing ever. I'm going to launch this coming week. So I took pebbles, little rocks, and this one says choose love.
Right.
And I hand painted different words and phrases that helped save my life.
Hmm.
And then I actually designed a little card that goes in to tell about the gray rock coping
Right.
strategy. And
Yeah.
then I also give these little guardian angel coins with it.
Ah.
And but the most important part, and this is something I'm incredibly proud of, I designed a flyer to go with it. And it's basically, this is my life, my whole life.
Hmm.
On the inside, red flags of a narcissist and HSPs.
Wow. Wow.
And you can get a free flyer on my PattiDiMiceli.com,
Hmm.
because I definitely want to educate people. I think it's important. And then here's our Love and Learn collection.
Right. Okay, great.
So yeah, I try my best to, take what I've experienced, which is the dark side,
Mm.
and by selling gray rocks and doing other, activities, all of the profits go to supporting people like me that are doing light work in the world and many other different nonprofits and organizations. So
Yeah.
it feels really good to be able to have the skills and talent and tools that God gave me, and put it out into the world.
Wow. 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 That is incredible. That is well, it's good what you're doing anyway, putting all your skills together and your talent, and you're using it to work for people, actually, and it's blessing people as well. So it's really good. It's really good. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. Um, the Tobias and Co. Limited, or the organization, your organization, the
Yes.
products that you sell, which I'm sure they're very inspiring products. How did Amber's legacy inspire you to merge your entrepreneurial spirit with your mission to help others?
Well, probably 7 years ago, I ran into a woman in the post office, and she had a beautiful scarf on. Her name is Rebecca Pearson. She was painting silk. So I took some of her classes, and then I thought, ooh, how can I comfort especially mothers who are grieving? So I started painting silk scarves with beautiful quotes all around the outside. And then my hand became like a claw. So then I started taking photographs of angels around the world
Mm.
and put them onto silk. You did the artwork, sent it to China. They sent us silk scarves and ties. And
Yeah.
then I collected drawings of angels from kids and put them onto pillows. And so we donate, that's our giving back division, is Embrace the Angel. So we donate silk scarves and ties and pillows covered with angels to children, especially that are grieving and dying.
Okay, so let's talk about your experience, especially your journey through the narcissist abuse and your eventually escaping from it. So what were the key lessons that you learned, especially around resilience, self-preservation, and you talked about your rock, that rock, the Gray Rock Project.
Yeah. Yes, I've always been one to take the pain that
Mhm.
I've suffered, and I'm not alone. Trust me, there's millions, and I would venture to say billions of people in the world that have suffered abuse, needless abuse. Um, my light bulb moment, if you will, came one night after severe abuse. I was in the basement of our house.
Mm.
I was crying and oh my God, I thought I was going to die. And
Wow.
I called my friend in England, actually, and she said to me, Patti, you've already suffered the worst thing any mother could suffer. You watched your child die. And I said, Susan, that wasn't the worst thing. This is the worst thing because
Mm.
Amber's life and death had meaning and purpose. This is needless. This is uncalled for. And it when I heard those words come out of my mouth, my heart, I was like, oh my God, this is really, really bad. And I have to do something about this. First, save myself for sure. I had to save myself. But I also realized that if I'm suffering through this, and frankly, I'm pretty like intelligent, I think. I mean, I was at the pinnacle of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I was self-actualized when I met him. And, this is what happened. And I'm still healing. I'm still
Wow.
healing. But this is part of my journey of healing is taking what I perceive to be as evil and taking that horrendous choice, I believe it's a choice
Yeah.
for the most part, and taking that and turning it into ways to save other people. So that's what I do. And I said, well, as I mentioned, that the gray rock saved my life, and how
Mm.
can I help others save theirs?
Yes, that's
So
true.
so it's
Wow.
fantastic to be able
Wow.
to take something so horrific.
That's
And
true.
and I had gray rocks everywhere when I was trying to escape. And I realized that, yeah, this is the thing I can do. And they're little Mexican beach pebbles, which is very, very cool
Yeah.
because I got to tell you this real quick. I call myself a pebble thrower in the still pond of life. And as I go through my life, the grocery store, wherever I am, and
Hmm.
I feel led, I'll say to the person, "Oh, I have something for you." And of course, they look at me like,
Of course. Yeah.
I don't know what. And I say, I'm a pebble thrower in the still pond of life. And then I have this little pouch.
Ah.
And I say, these are my pebbles. So I say, choose one for yourself and one for someone you love. And they do, which is the coolest thing, because then they become a pebble thrower too. So it's a little embrace the angel card. It talks about angels. This is our logo. It was
Mm.
done by Summer. And they have little coins on the back. And on the back of the little angel coin is a word. There's 5 words. And they choose the word. And then they give their another pebble to someone they love.
Yeah.
But honestly, Shola, for the last 15 years that I've been doing this, I've seen miracles right before my eyes.
Mm. Mm.
Just handing out little pebbles with nothing expected in return, and then a little special word from the other side just for them. People have fallen on the ground weeping uncontrollably right there in public.
Really? Oh my God. Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Because someone they love just died, and that word touched them very deeply. Or most people, like, embrace the angel.
Mm.
That's the name of my book and Amber's book. And they'll hug me beyond belief, and just weep on my shoulder. It's a beautiful thing because by just sharing a tiny thing
Mm.
like a pebble or a gray rock, you
Yeah.
can really, you can transform somebody's life.
Nice. That's true. Wow. Wow. That is very true. One thing I know for sure is that on this planet that we are, this planet Earth,
Mhm.
most of us have a purpose. We're called to do something. It's just a lot of people don't discover and they die with that calling. But I know we're all called to do something. Oh my God. Wow. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing and thank you for coming on our show today. How can people contact you? How can they connect with you if they want to?
Yeah, and especially if they want to learn more about, the free flyer is on pattidimiceli.com. So it's PATTIDIMICELI.com. That's where all my light work is. And then I have
Yeah.
embracetheangel.com.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Mm.
And tobiasandcompany.com. So that's where all of our Love and Learn collection is. And I have different, doors of Tuscany and, different other silk items on there as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
pattidimiceli.com, it would
Mhm.
be the first place to head.
Wow. Thank you so much for coming on our show today. Any inspirational advice for our viewers out there, our audience?
Yes, I would say you're not alone. You're not alone. The angels are always with you. And
Mm.
if you go to embracetheangel.com, I live in a tiny home, by the way. You can get a tour on that, Embrace the Angel. I have a really cool little 2-minute video. But this little girl named Grace, who's now 16, she was 9 at the time,
Mm.
she collected 164 angels from kids around the world that we put on another pillow called Grace's Angels. She talks about angels. And it is, I get goosebumps just talking about her talking about it. But if you go to Embrace the Angel and look up Grace's Angels, you'll hear Grace talk about the fact that we're not alone.
Mm.
Kids know, children, they are the wise ones. And I think it's very, very important that adults stop pretending that we are the wise ones. Let's stop pretending and let's listen to the children and the
Mm.
animals. They are the wise ones and the elders.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much for coming on our show today and sharing your life through experience. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Shola. And your listeners, just know that we're connected.
Mm.
Despite time and distance, we are connected. If you're listening to this right now, Amber is here as well as her angels. You're not
Wow.
alone.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much. So we're not alone.
We're not
We're
alone.
surrounded by angels, just that
Yep.
we can't see them. We don't know.
No, but you can feel them because that's what goosebumps are. Goosebumps are the other side, the angels coming through our physical bodies to
Right.
remind us they're there.
Okay. Wow. Well, I've learned so much today just for talking to you, Patti. I don't know what to say, but really, I've learned so much, and a lot of things that you said today are things that I'm not even aware of. So thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for coming on our
Thank,
show.
thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
And until next time, it's Shola and Patti on mission to inspire. Keep watching, keep listening, keep downloading, keep writing comments, keep contacting us. Contact Patti. I'm sure you will want to contact her as well. And until next time, thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.